You finally get the thing you've been working toward: a healthy relationship, a stable job, a truly safe environment. But instead of relief, you feel an overwhelming sense of panic. Your heart races, and you get this sudden, irrational urge to pick a fight or just walk away. We usually write this off using that old folk saying, "Better the devil you know than the devil you don't." That phrase describes a fundamental law of neurobiology. When you sabotage a vid situation, your brain is flawlessly executing a specific, predictable algorithm. It has nothing to do with a character flaw, an addiction to misery, or a lack of willpower. Traditional psychology often frames trauma as a bad memory or a broken personality trait, but describing these patterns as flaws doesn't explain why they are so persistent or why the nervous system works so hard to keep them running. To see the actual gears turning, we have to look through the lens of computational mechanics. The brain is a prediction engine designed to keep you alive, rather than a reward-seeking machine built for happiness. It operates by constantly calculating and anticipating the environment to avoid fatal surprises. If the brain's ultimate goal is stability, it will actively protect a traumatic pattern just to maintain that predictable baseline. The brain measures its success using a metric called free energy. This is the mathematical gap between what the brain expects to happen and what actually happens. It is the measurement of surprise. Your biological imperative is to keep that gap as small as possible, minimizing free energy at all costs. This chart maps how the brain separates familiarity from valence, the label for whether an experience feels good or bad. Notice how the unfamiliar good box registers as high surprise. Because it is unpredictable, your nervous system reads this positive change as a high threat signal. Because the brain prioritizes familiarity over feeling good, it will choose a predictable hell over an unpredictable heaven to keep free energy low. Trauma installs a specific internal map, a prior, that teaches the brain a core lesson, like "the world is dangerous" or "I am unlovable." Because this lesson was learned under extreme survival pressure, the brain assigns it high precision. It locks the map in with massive, inflexible confidence. This thick black arrow represents that high-precision prior, acting as a heavy filter to interpret new information through a lens of threat. When sensory evidence contradicts the trauma, like genuine safety, it is systematically downweighted. The old prior is so heavy, new data is simply ignored. Letting go of this negative map feels like an existential risk, because this specific map is what ensured your survival in the past. The glitch happens when a person with a high-precision threat model finally enters a truly safe, loving environment. This unfamiliar safety directly contradicts the internal map, causing a massive prediction error and a terrifying spike in free energy. To resolve the tension, the brain engages in active inference, taking physical action to force the outside world to match its internal map. This means picking a fight, withdrawing, or fleeing to deliberately ruin the good situation. Self-sabotage is just the brain's attempt to resolve a neurological surprise by restoring the computationally safe baseline of familiar misery. This computational glitch is what Shayna Lintner is describing here, panicking alone in a bathtub, trying to figure out how to get back to hell. This panic is not a warning sign that the positive change is wrong or dangerous. That free energy spike is the literal metabolic cost of the brain attempting to update a load-bearing survival model. Early recovery feels like an existential threat to the system because your entire internal operating system is being rewritten. You cannot use logic to turn off a high-precision survival model. Cognitive realization alone isn't heavy enough to shift the gears. Healing requires precision modulation, slowly lowering the volume of old threat signals by introducing sustained counter-evidence. The work is tolerating the uncomfortable prediction error. You have to sit in the unfamiliar good long enough for the brain to relearn that it is safe. Once you see self-sabotage as the dismantling of a survival model that once kept you alive, the shame falls away. It takes immense courage to stay in an unfamiliar heaven.